This is your Sci-Fi Now. Welcome to another review of the USA Network show Colony. This is for Season 2, Episode 8, Good Intentions. It was a great episode. I think the show is firing on all cylinders now. I'm really psyched. They've earned a third season, but that still hasn't been announced. The good intentions of the title probably include Will letting go the Red Hand terrorist in the previous episode, and then possibly letting their leader go this episode. Another good intention gone awry was Bram identifying his co-conspirators, whom Snyder promptly shot. Did you spot any other good intentions gone awry? We should probably pay attention to the recaps. The bomb was shown in last week's recap as well as this week's. As I mentioned in previous reviews, this was a very suspicious bomb. It has two 30-minute roadside flares, not exactly common bomb components, or more likely it was actually one flare cut in half, which is even more bizarre. Flares are slow burning, of course, whereas a bomb burns explosively. A flare could be used to set off a bomb, in theory, but it just seems bizarre, even for a prison jerry-rigged bomb. It has, wires going everywhere. It's such a silly bomb that I'm not even sure this was the bomb that downed the rocket ship. The bomb has a circuit board, which suggests a sophisticated detonation mechanism, maybe a timer or radio control. So last week I speculated that Maya could still be alive. As pointed out on the Daily Review podcast, the red hat next to Snyder during the blast last episode was petite and female. So that could have been Maya. So we see we can get quite a bit of mileage out of paying attention to the details. Now, Maya is still in an undetermined state of alive or dead, but with these two details, the circuit board and the petite red hat, she's more likely alive. We start out the episode with a meeting of the proxies and Elena, and the new proxy of the LA block, Proxy Alcala, comes up with a story to cover up the sabotage of the transport. He says it's a new interdimensional technology. Now, this should be a warning to the viewers. You can't believe everything the government officials tell you, especially in Colony, in real life as well. So, was Dallas really turned into glass, as Helena said? Is the greatest day really going to be wonderful, like Nolan Burgess said? We see Morgan reviewing the population data. The graph is nonsensical, as I explained last week. The blue data points go all the way down to zero population. But that's in the future, where there should be no data on the population. The red line is the projection, but the blue dots are supposed to be census data. Last week, they gave us a close-up of the previous screen too, a spreadsheet-type report. I pointed out some of the flaws in the chart at the top, and now taking a closer look, it's even more bizarre than I first thought. For one thing, the cost in dollars is subtracted from a people count. You can't subtract dollars from people. Also, as a YouTuber named Spencer pointed out in comments under my review last week, the spreadsheet type chart at the bottom had headers for stocks, and yet there were negative numbers in those columns, which makes no sense for stocks, and of course stocks make no sense for Colony anyway. The production staff had to try hard to create something so twisted. I know that many think that the writers are just mentally retarded, but Ryan Condal has a degree in accounting. The chart and graph were not mistakes. In the context of the show, I'm going to treat them as forgeries. Previously, I didn't know whether Simon or Morgan was the forger. Now it appears Morgan was the forger because she's looking at the data, and any idiot looking at the data could see it's a forgery. As Broussard notes, it should inspire more people to join the fight. And Katie chimes in, it worked on me. So that may have been Morgan's motivation for creating the forgery, to cause a revolt. Snyder talks to Bram, impressing upon him the seriousness of the situation, but explains it can be fixed with a cover-up. Snyder's logic isn't very good because, as Snyder points out later, Bram himself is a loose end. In the very first episode, Snyder chose to turn Will into his puppet, and I find it fascinating that he's intent on maintaining influence over Will. We've seen Will become a one-man army on 2 or 3 occasions, plus Will seems gullible, so it makes sense for Snyder to control Will. Broussard gives the data to Hennessy. If he accepts it as legit, then that will be suspicious. Hennessy claims he has tried to get in touch with the Red Hands, but has not succeeded. However, he said the Red Hand who escaped came to him asking for help. That hints to me that Hennessy might actually be involved with the Red Hands, possibly even as their leader. The calendar background shows December 1st falling on a Tuesday. That will occur in 2020 and also 2026. The show creators said that the show is some years in the future, but less than 10, so either 2020 or 2026 would work. Bram is a loose end, but Snyder lets him live anyway. It's not out of the kindness of his heart, as you can see from the body count. Bram is just a means to get cooperation from Will. Now that the new proxy has tied the Greatest Day to getting blown to smithereens, I'm even more worried about the Greatest Day. Charlie wasn't buying any of it. Lindsay bares her fangs, figuratively speaking, so perhaps we should have seen her death coming. So the Red Hand kid was interrogated and easily gave up the name of the Red Hand leader, and yet he didn't mention Will letting him go. Everyone on the internet seems to believe this kid when he says that the Red Hand leader was Frankie's mother. I'm not so sure. Remember, Frankie's mother said that they would send her to the factory just for being Frankie's mother. So she was already dead, and it wouldn't do much harm to give her name other than a little torture. Is the leader of the Red Hands Frankie's mother or Hennessy? We don't know yet. Remember, the Red Hands might be a government operation. The attack on the Red Hat recruiting station several episodes ago caused many civilian casualties, probably turning public opinion against the insurgency. Simon tries to kill Broussard to satisfy the Dutch Nazis or whatever they were, but he finds his gun is unloaded. Then Morgan bonks him on the head and Broussard stabs him to death as he looks at Morgan with a look of betrayal. Charlie springs into action to save Gracie from the home invasion by the Red Hands. Lindsay died, but it's okay. She's a believer, so she'll be saved. Or not. Will turns into a one-man army again and takes out the Red Hands and rescues Charlie and Gracie. Now, there are a couple problems with this scene. One is, where is the Red Hat security that the Bowmans used to have around their house? Since I suspect the Red Hands work for the government, that actually isn't a problem, though. A bigger problem is, where was Minnie? Minnie is the dog. She wasn't at the new apartment either. If they didn't eat Minnie, I'll be really disappointed. You know, they were down to just oranges 4 episodes ago, and the dog would be dying of starvation by now anyway. Finally, we get a touching reunion between Bram and Charlie, who have never been before together in the series. So that wraps it up for this week. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next week.